Heidi ho, good neighbors. What's going on? It's Phil Russert, and I am back for a short time this week with Creatorcon Q&A. We have a really cool guest tonight, really nice guy, and a really cool looking project that we're going to talk about. Just to remind you that we are back this week. We'll have an episode Thursday and another one Saturday, which we'll talk about after. But right now, our focus is on our guest for tonight. Um, before we get into everything, just to remind you, please let's support indie creators. Let's support people who are trying to live their dream. Kickstarters. Forego that cup of coffee this week that cost you $8 at Starbucks and they spelled your name wrong, and pick up somebody's book. Give it a shot. You never know. You might find your next great read. Okay. Having said that, if you're in the audience, please say hi, share out, let us know who's here, say hello, and let's share this out to everybody and let get an audience in here. I know I haven't done a show in a while, so it's picking up the pieces again, but where's my faithful? Get in here before I toilet paper your house. Anyway, tonight's guest is a writer, a creator. He's done several projects which we're going to talk about, but his current project is the Neverland, which is an all-ages tale that looks really, really fun and interesting, and I really am excited to talk about it. Great quality art, great quality product. This is a guy that's a pro. He knows what it is to put out a professional book, and he funded today. So, but let's put him really over the edge. Let's give him some help and some support today. So without further ado, creator Calbe Thusat. Damn, I got it wrong anyway.
I had a feeling you could do that.
Thusat.
You got it. You got it.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
How are you?
Thanks for having me, Phil, man. I'm glad to be here, having a good day. Lots of fun news to share with you guys. So
yeah, I think that's awesome. And by the way, as I'm looking down, I'm just sharing out into other groups. So please do not think I'm being rude. Let's get this out in about 20, 30 groups.
Oh, nice.
So thanks for being on. Congratulations on funding today. And
thanks.
You work hard, and we all try to push, and it's nice to see you succeed because of the stresses that we face,
Absolutely.
So what was this month of Kickstarter like for you emotionally?
Well, I have to be completely honest. This has been the smoothest and least stressful campaign I think I've run. And this is like my 17th one that I've run in the past 6 years. So I think just a combination of kind of knowing what I'm doing at this point. And I've actually started this new group that's like a cross promotion group on Facebook, and we have like an ongoing chat that we just like can bounce ideas off of each other and keep up with each other's projects, and it just has made it a little more fun to like interact with other people that are running campaigns at the same time and kind of just like enjoy the ride and help each other when we need it. Like, hey, it's really slow today, can you guys help share out here and there? And it's not always perfect, and it's not always working, but sometimes it is. And honestly, it seems like a lot of these guys are getting, their campaigns funded that are in this group. So I'm hoping it's helping, and I know it's helped my mentality for the past couple of weeks. But I've gotten to the point now that I just run them for like 3 weeks instead of a full month, because I don't like to have that extra week of just dead air, which tends to happen. So I was like, let's have the start week, a week that's kind of, I fill it with podcasts and live shows and everything. And then, the final week to push it really hard. So, and it seems to be a nice way to do things.
See, I've thought about that too, dropping out that week, because it's just dead. And sometimes it feels like all you're doing is prolonging getting the book in people's hands, Hey, Flavio, what's going on? Thanks for coming in. So I think there's truth to that. Yeah, man. I mean, I guess you have to. I mean, I've only done 2. When you do 17, that's not fair.
Yeah.
She's peaking. She just turned 8 on Saturday.
I love kids.
I guess I got 2. You want to borrow? No, just kidding. They're peeking in to see what's going on.
Oh, they
you can
probably
come
would
say
like some of
hello.
my books. I have super kits and I write
Yeah,
all ages stuff too on top of the adult stuff. So
yeah. Actually, I was going to say that I know that you've done quite a few that cater to all audiences, as your new book is, of course.
yeah.
Um, are you going to slowly creep like that, or are you just going to come on and say hello? Because I'm interviewing someone, honey. Sorry. You've got a stalker, Caleb.
Oh, it's my first
All right, so I
stalker.
put this out in about 30 groups. Okay.
Nice.
So you said that you've done 17 campaigns. You've been doing this for quite some time now. Obviously campaigns have blown up now. They're much bigger than they were six,
They're
7, 8 years ago, which is
different
great for the
beast.
indie
Yeah.
community. What was the project that started everything for you?
I started. You
Hey,
have all my
Dennis.
books laying out here so I can show you. I started with the first issue of this sci-fi series, which is kind of like a sci-fi cyberpunk mystery. And I had worked in film in Chicago for about 8 or 9 years, doing short films and producing indie movies and stuff. And then I had all these cool ideas, and I was like, I can't really do these independently in movies. It's just doesn't. It's not feasible.
Right.
And then I love the comic medium, and I started going to conventions and seeing other people kind of like rebooting themselves, like stepping away from whatever they were doing, either creatively or not even creatively. And I thought, maybe I can do that. And I just one of the scripts that I ended up going home and writing after one of the conventions happened to be the first issue of Alter Life. So I just kind of started to try to build a following on social media and then launched a campaign. And, as for most people that are launching first campaigns, it was a lot of asking friends and family to help out. And
Right.
you feel kind of like you're walking around asking for collections, right? But I've gotten 17 in now, and now I'm actually getting, I have like a couple friends and family that back just to read the books and get the rewards, but mostly it's just people that want to read the books now. And it just feels good to have spent the 6 years building up, that following. It's been ups and downs because I don't really stick to one genre. I jump around, which
Right.
you're constantly reinventing yourself and trying to rebuild an audience. But I have ideas that come from different places. I don't want to like stick to sci-fi just because that did well. I want to dabble in fantasy like I'm doing with Neverland. I did a kid series because I had a son that I wanted him to start to get into reading and to get into comics. So I wrote a series for him, and then it just kind of snowballed. And I try to do, whatever inspires me. And that's the Neverland inspired me during the pandemic. And I wrote 5 issues of limited series, and I was like, this is the next thing I'm doing. Like, it just overtook everything else I was doing. So anything that I feel passionate about, I'm going to focus all my efforts on. So
And that's great to get your chops up to be able to write so many different genres. John J said, "Hello, boys. Hey, John. Dennis is here. How are you?" Um, so, do you stick with this? Do you try to stay with the same creative team throughout these different genres, or do you try to pick an artist that you feel suits that genre?
well, initially I was picking people. I really I that when I started Alter Life, I found somebody that just was in the style. I wanted like a painterly, like watercolor style for the book. So I kind of I put a feeler out to like, hey, is there anybody that does this kind of style? And I just found somebody. But now I'll approach someone that has the style that I want for the book, like the Super Cats books. I wanted it to be cute, like, it's kind of like a scholastic book, almost Saturday morning cartoon feel
Right.
to it. So I found Angela Odling, who does just great kids art that has like this dark edge to it. And kind of Marcelo, I found, it's funny, the guy that I've worked with the most, I lived in the Chicago area for about 12 years and never met him. I moved away, and started working with him. He's in Chicago, so it's just the way things work. But now that he's worked with me on a couple projects, we kind of have like a shorthand together, and he is constantly challenging me with the way that he kind of puts different spins on things that I might not have thought of, and I'm challenging him with ideas that he might never try to do as an artist. So I think it's just a perfect matchup, and we just kind of been going with it. So
See, it's like that that rock band who puts the egos away. When a writer can appreciate what an artist brings to the table. Like for example, maybe you write something in a script because you have this vision in your head, and the artist maybe suggests, well, maybe we expand that into another page of 5 panels or whatever the case may be.
mm,
And when you as a writer can say, you know what, that actually makes sense, and you can go with that, or vice versa, where an artist goes, I get what your vision is, and I'm going to put that on
yeah,
paper.
I get that all the time with Marcelo, man. Like, I'm gonna find the page just to show you this. I always show people this is my example of what he does that ups the game. So when I wrote this Nook, it's like a ghost story set during World War II, and I have this girl like creeping down the stairs, kind of like following this ghost. But when I wrote it as a writer, I'm like, panel here, going, following, and there's like a bunch of panels. He just shoots back this to me, and I'm like,
Oh
well, that's
wow,
like the best. That's like one of the best images in
yeah.
the book. And I'm just like, I would have never, in as a writer, thought of doing it that way.
And
So
and that's the thing. As a writer, you have your skill set, and but the artist is an artist, and they're visual, and
yeah,
they understand. If you get a professional artist, level artist, they understand visual
absolutely,
storytelling, and we have to trust them. Hey Tom, what's
exactly.
going on?
Yeah, so I put my trust in Marcelo now because he's shown me time and time again that he can bring something better than even what I'm imagining. And I just, it's to a point now I don't even put as much description in. It's just like, what can you do with, there's some exposition here, but I want a girl telling like the story of Peter Pan, kind of like a flashback. But he just he's that some of these splash pages and double pages that he's done for Neverland, that you guys are going to be floored by. I haven't even revealed them yet, and it's just they're going to come out so amazing between him and Robert Nugent's colors that you can see. We have a 10-page preview on the Kickstarter you can check out that you can kind of get a sample of what all it's about, but it's just going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I was gonna say you give a lot of interior pages with which I don't think a lot of people realize. It's good to give as many interior pages without spoiling anything as you can, but also with the dialogue. They want to know that you can
Yeah,
write, so
yeah.
and you do that, and obviously you're successful, so you're doing what you're doing at this point.
I hope
Um,
so. If I don't know at this point, maybe I should stop what I'm doing because I'm
yeah,
only if I'm almost 20 in and I'm still not getting it right, might need to rethink my strategy here.
strategy. So when you're writing a story, when it comes to your mind, what do you find to be the most challenging thing for you as a writer?
Honestly, I've gotten better at it, but just keeping the pacing right so that people don't just get bogged down in exposition and dialogue. Like especially with the Neverland, I have a lot of cool stuff that I want to tell that like leads from the original book up to what happened to make the island the way it is, and that when the main character gets to it. So it's like I'm just kind of working harder to make sure that there's like a lot more action in between that exposition and dialogue. And I feel like, especially with this one, I've really hit a stride with it. And just writing all the issues out together helps you get that flow even better. So I've been working on that more and more. I did it with my time travel series last year, but I think it's just something you're constantly tweaking, right? As a writer, you want to get better and better. So I feel like if you feel like every project is your best one, then you're doing something right.
Do you feel having written other genres has given you a certain level of confidence going into the next project as well, knowing that you feel like you can write anything basically?
Yeah, it's confidence, and it's just it also the feeling of like it not getting stale, right? Like it's just something fresh and bringing a fresh take to it, something that might be familiar to other people. But yeah, it's just honestly, like doing it so much. I've gone back to sci-fi a couple times now with going back to the time travel thing, but honestly, I like to kind of go to bounce back and forth or have like one thing from one genre going on while I'm doing Super Cats while I do Neverland, and it's just nice to have that back and forth so that you're constantly challenging yourself and constantly coming up with, sometimes ideas that don't work in Super Cats end up being something that might work in something else, and
Right.
to that's kind of why I guess the multiple genres happens too, because then you end up thinking, well, maybe that's like not a superhero idea, maybe that's something else, and just always feeding into ideas one way or the other with what you're coming up with.
It's hard enough to create a comic book as it is, but I don't think people realize that the true, for me anyway, you tell me what you think, the true bane of all this is the marketing, getting the
Oh,
exposure,
yeah.
getting it out there. Um,
I think
I'll
that's the true desire for getting on a publisher, right? Is because they can do that they know how to do all that stuff that you don't. But as an indie guy, you're coming in, you have to do everything, and you don't realize how much you're going to have to do. Like when I started doing Alter Life, I didn't know I was going to learn how to do marketing and all the social media and like every single aspect of publishing that you can imagine. It's like I mean, I've done everything at this point, so you can really respect why, maybe signing a contract with somebody if they like your idea is not a bad idea, because you can take the time to create that way, and they can do
right.
all of that crap that you don't want to have to deal with.
Do you ever find the energy you have to put into the marketing sometimes exhausts you on the creative side?
Oh, absolutely. I oftentimes, especially when I'm running a Kickstarter campaign or even leading up to it, I just assume that the creative end of it is done for right now, and I'll come back to it after, because it's just way too much. I mean, you know how it is. You have kids, you have other responsibilities, and then you have to. I mean, running a Kickstarter is a full-time job. It's more than a
Right.
full-time job usually. I mean, you spend more time doing that than you do anything. So
I mean,
most
do you
definitely.
feel it can stagnate you sometimes creatively, or at least like halt your mojo, so to speak? Your
Oh yeah.
momentum.
Oh yeah. And it's been harder with everything being shut down and stuff too in the prior years, because then you have that aspect of everything, and you don't have the conventions that are feeding your ego in a sense when you go sell books and people are excited about them. And so you're just like, why do I even want to write? But it's like it's gotten much better now, and having books getting picked up by publishers and stuff is also a help, because like I said, now I don't have to worry about marketing that stuff as much.
Right.
So it's been a game changer over the past year and a half for me, for sure.
And how do you feel about the collectors? A lot of people will collect a number one on a Kickstarter, not come back for number two because they're not reading it. They just want the first appearance or maybe just the
Hmm.
cover they liked. How do you feel that affects the industry in the sense that, because maybe if they did crack it open and read it, they'd actually like it. But there's a lot more collecting now for whatever reason than there is reading. How do you think
Yeah.
that affects guys like us?
Well, it definitely makes it harder on guys like us, because many of us aren't making the books that are necessarily for that. Like, Neverland isn't really one, let's be honest, it's going to be pulling in the collectors. It's really made for the readers, and
Right.
most of my stuff is like that. So I've always kind of just had to focus on giving people a good story, and there's going to be always something cool to get during a campaign that you might not get anywhere else, just as like a perk to get those people that might just like that piece of art or something too. But yeah, it's definitely a strange. It's just definitely a strange thing to try to find that balance. But I not honestly just I've always kind of just catered to the story, and if you don't want to read it, then it's probably not necessarily for you, because this is just the way I write.
Right. No, I get it. I just because I see it a lot. I see people that are trying to write quality stories that that they feel
Yeah,
can resonate with readers. But there is that aspect of fighting that the market
it's
collectors,
more of a
and
challenge for us writing stories like that, definitely.
I think so, especially when we don't have distribution.
Yeah.
So, who are some of your inspirations as far as writing or storytelling and things of that nature, or even artists?
Well, I was late to the game getting into comics because where I grew up in Ohio, I didn't have comic shop or really access to comic books. Like the only things I knew were like X-Men on TV and you know the media aspect of it. And then when I got older, I started reading some Marvel and DC stuff here and there. But really, once I picked up the Watchmen book by Alan Moore, I was just like, it opened my mind to what the medium really could be, and that there was more to be told than just superhero stories, and there was something deeper that you could do with it.
Sure.
So I was that opened my mind, and then I was like, all right, well, let's see what else there is. And so since then been I love Neil Gaiman books, and um honestly, a lot of film still inspires me because I came from a film background. So a lot of my stories tend to kind of have a film tone or feel to it. Guillermo Del Toro, huge influence on me. I mean, he writes more than just film. Obviously, he has books and he's been done video games and everything too. But
Right.
just his sense of dark fantasy and the way he
And his
uses
character
ghosts
designs
and
are
horror,
amazing.
it's just I love that stuff. And usually when like even when I explained to Marcel, the artist on Neverland, I said, think of Peter Pan, but if Guillermo del Toro made a movie that was set in the Neverland. So that's kind of how he started to create the world and create the characters. And I tend to, I always kind of tend to reference film because that's what I grew up with. But the writers that really inspire me are Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman, and more recently Brian K. Vaughan, uh,
Yeah,
you
he's
know,
a great writer.
Scott Snyder, Jeff Lemire, the guys that are they do superhero stuff, but they also have really weird other books that
Right.
are like the bread and butter of what I love. So
Right. Like Sweet Tooth.
exactly, yeah.
It's funny. Larry Stroman and Norm Ratman were making fun of me, saying that the kid in Sweet Tooth looks like me when I was younger. And the scary thing is, it actually does. He
My
actually
God,
does when he puts them side by side. I
that's
was like, holy
hilarious.
cow. So they said every time they watch the show, they see me. So anyway,
That's
um,
hilarious.
so what is the most enjoyable aspect of comic creating for you, and what is the least enjoyable aspect of creating comics?
Wow, I think we went over the least enjoyable, the marketing aspect of it. It's just not. It's like a slog to get through all that. But honestly, the most enjoyable is when I get the pages back from an artist, and you get to see that vision come to life. And a lot of times there's surprises in there, and then you're like, this is more than I could have asked for. It's more than I even imagined. And so between that and then actually getting to see someone read it and come back to you at a show and tell you about it, or like return a year later and
Yeah.
be like, oh my god, what do you have now, because I read that other thing and it was amazing. Like those moments is like that's really why we do this.
All I have to say is I don't know if it was because of you or Marcel, but you had a Godzilla Easter egg in there, and I'm a huge Godzilla fan, so that was enough for me. um,
Marcel is big on that that type of that's like where he started. He used to do that style of comic, and so he always works something like that in in the background here and there. It's a little homage to what he's started. Hey,
Cool.
Matt.
What's going on, Matt? How are you?
Matt's in that group, that cross promo group we've been talking about, because he has this campaign running too. But
yeah, once in a blue moon, him and I talk on direct message. Nice guy, good guy.
yeah,
Rooting for him, rooting for everybody. So I'm gonna put up the Kickstarter page that you have going on now, because we want to start getting some pledges here to give you some cushion. And if not, I'm gonna have to toilet paper people's houses, and I don't want to do that. So pledge. Anyway, so here we go. I'm going to block us out because right now the attention's on them, not how handsome I am. I don't want to distract people. It's called the Neverland #1. You met your goal by $7 with 157 backers. Congratulations. Nice backer number. 7 days to go. See that, guys and gals? Green, back this project. That's what you're going to want to click by the time we show you this campaign, okay? Do you want to give us a little synopsis before I hit the trailer, or would you like me to just play the trailer first?
You can start with the trailer, and then I'll fill you all in after.
Okay. So here we go, the trailer for the Neverland. Why did it do that? It's buffering. Very cool. So it's reminiscent, and you even mentioned it here, on the fantasies that we grew up as kids with in the 80s, that you would consider there's a dark edge to them, like the Never-Ending Story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is like part Never-Ending Story, part Hook. Like, it has that PG-13 feel to the story. Probably pushing more PG-13 these days, but back then you could get away with a lot more with PG.
Right.
So, but it has that feeling that when you're a kid, you watch this or you read this and you get the grand scope of adventure, and it's just a fun story, but it's also got this depth to it that when you come back to it later or think about it when you're older, there's a lot more going on there that you might not catch when you're young. So that's
right.
I wanted to make something kind of for a newer generation that had that feel to it, and just because those are the movies and the stories that I loved when I was a kid, I'd watch over and over again.
And this is a great, beautiful homage piece of art from Stan Yak.
Yeah, it's
some of us older folks will know what this is. Yeah. Never-Ending Story. Yeah. So obviously you're using fairy tale characters. You're putting your own kind of twist on them. You're putting your own aesthetic and character-driven twist on them, or?
Yeah, so let me give you a little glimpse on what this is all about. So in the beginning of the pandemic, as my son was really into Peter Pan. He was really into like Jake and the Neverland Pirates and Disney and stuff. And so I was subjected to all that. And I was like, I want to read the source material. So I read the original Peter Pan novel, which is nothing like anything you've probably seen with Peter Pan. It's dark and it's really not really a kid's book when you think about it. So I liked that idea that it's not what it seems, and almost kind of used that as a projection of these characters. So it's about a kid growing up during the pandemic. His mother gets sick and he escapes to Neverland one night, where his mother always told him stories about Neverland. And he comes to find that there's no magic left on the island. And he is the key to figuring out how to bring the magic back. And so obviously there's a lot of subtext going on parallel to what's going on in the world. And it definitely has that never-ending story feel, where there's this deep darkness in the world that needs to be repaired somehow. And that's kind of where the story kind of came from, watching my son and other kids growing up in the pandemic and thinking, man, they're being forced to grow up too soon dealing with all this stuff. So I saw that and I thought there was a story to be told with Peter Pan that could be applied to a new generation. So that's what this is. It kind of plays off the original novel, using events from the original novel, but these are new versions of the character, that much darker, broken characters.
Well, it's funny how you take the innocence of your child to as an inspiration to I always find you can just look around you and you'll always find some sort of inspiration for some story. And to
Yeah,
me, the best is the innocence of a child.
yeah, for sure.
So let's take a look. I mean, obviously, you're a professional. After 17 books, you know how to write, but you also know how to assemble a great team. Uh, Again, that was Stan Yak. Should I play
Yeah,
this as well?
you can. It's kind of just like a little story intro, but you feel free. It's only like 2 minutes long, so
Okay. If you want me to. I mean, if you
yeah,
feel.
for sure.
Why is it doing that? So who does your trailers?
I do.
Oh, nice. And where do you get the music
Yeah,
from?
a couple different places. The MIDI stuff was from one source, but the piano stuff I believe is bensound.com. It's There's a lot of free music on there, and then you can pay for the rights for some of them too. It's all relatively cheap.
Very cool. Statistics show if you have a trailer, you're significantly more successful on a Kickstarter than without.
Hmm.
But I also do believe it depends on the quality of the trailer. So nice job.
Thanks.
So I mean, this touches on, like you said, some sadder, darker themes, but at the same time, you've got the wonderment of fantasy and Neverland, and um, I'm sure it's an inspiring tale on some level, right?
Yeah. So the pages that you see in the campaign are mostly, they're setting up the characters. They're setting up the tragedy of what's going on in the world, and you're going to get a small glimpse of that fantasy world that he's getting into, mainly because I don't want to give all away all the good stuff, right? Because that's coming. It's a 32-page issue, so it's a larger issue. You're not, that 10 page it isn't going to take away from all the fun that there is in the fantasy. You get to meet some familiar characters from Peter Pan. They're obviously much different than any way you've probably seen them before. But it's just going to be a great ride, and I feel like once you read this first one, you're just going to be ready to find that second one when it comes out. And our plan is to just keep these going as fast as we can bring them out. We've always been fairly quick at that, so we're going to continue with the quick delivery.
Very cool. I think that's important, very important to building a fan base, is to be reliable, timely. Those are huge. No matter how good the book is, if you're not timely and reliable, updating, etc., you're crushing yourself.
Yeah, I'm always 100% transparent with what's going on with the book. So if there's ever any hiccups or anything, you'll know about it, and you'll know why there might be a delay, and then you're always going to get a book. If you hear anything about my campaigns, you'll know that you always end up getting a product, and it's a quality one.
Very cool. So far, what have we unlocked here? Let's see.
So we had some stuff for early backers, which most people have missed at this point, but we also have some fun stuff. Angela Odling, who does the Super Cats books with me, she designed uh, uh, her version of the Dark Tinkerbell that's in the story, and we're going to have like a die cut sticker that everybody gets with that. And then if you scroll down, there's a really cool print that everybody will get. I don't see why we won't hit 200 backers or $5,000 in 7
You're
more
almost
days.
there, yeah.
And he was doing these great like Dick Tracy uh,
Yeah, you can see that
art
style.
pieces, and I was like, man, I want like a series of the Neverland characters in that style. So I told him to do Captain Hook and Smee, and he gave me this, and I was like, that's just wonderful. So the hope is that we'll unlock this one, and then for the next campaign, we'll have a couple more characters, and then eventually you'll get a whole set of these cool prints by Howie Knoll.
Yeah, those are great. This is great, man. I love it.
Yeah, he
So, and
nailed
just
it.
to remind people, it says 200 backers or 5 grand.
Yeah,
Well,
we're gonna
you're
get there. There's
$493 off that, and you're 43 backers off the other. So let's get that. Let's get that unlocked and opened up for everybody. Look at that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think we'll get there. 7 days. The nice thing is, as many campaigns as I've run, this is, like I told you, is probably one of the smoothest. And there's a lot of times I'm down to the wire, and then you get that influx at the end, and things get funded. But this one, we're funded. We still have a whole week to spread the love with this and tell people about it and show people the cool things that you can get for backing. So even if you can't back, just share it wherever you can, so we can get the word out.
Very cool. Yeah, man. Guys, come on. Let's. Hey, Charles is here. What's going on? Let's go. Let's get some backers. Let's get some love. Let's give them a cushion over the goal, guys. Because God forbid anybody ever drop out. We don't want them going under goal. Let's
Yeah,
go.
you,
Come
you
on.
know that
I got
happens
lots
from
of
time to
toilet
time.
paper. I got
Uh,
lots of toilet paper, fellas. I will toilet paper your house. Just saying. All right. So we'll show the preview of the pages just to give people a little sample. Again, you give 10
yeah,
pages, which is great. It gives a little insight into um, what you
I
got
want to be
going on here.
generous with it, let people kind of get a feel for the characters and where it's going.
Now, writing this, is there any of you in your protagonist? Anything or any sources from like when you were younger, or your son even, or
There's
where was the
probably
inspiration?
there's probably more of me in the father character than there is in the son, but um I could see some of me in the kid too. But just the sense of wonder and excitement with those fantasy stories, and uh, kind of maybe even that sense of doubt that comes through in some of these early pages, where he's just like, "Oh, Neverland's not real, Mom. She just tells me that stuff to make me feel better."
Mm, very cool.
But Robert Nugent does the coloring as well, and he does a lot of stuff for Source Point Press, and I started working with him last year on my time travel one shot, and he just does a fantastic job.
And who did the lettering? I like to give everybody credit.
I did the lettering actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things I started doing over the pandemic. Is I started learning how to do uh, lettering work myself, just to have that other level of editing. It gives you the control of, oh, I need to. It might be feel better to add something here or take something from there,
Right.
and I didn't I didn't like having to rely on someone else to do that.
I get that. In the old days, the comic writers, they used to do the lettering themselves. They would paste the letters on the page.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was when, there was mailing and there wasn't faxing and digital, and then they actually cut it out and paste it and put it on the thing. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to have the tools to do that so simply. I mean, you just need an iPad and a program that can handle the letters, and you can figure it out. So
That is
that's what I've
awesome.
been doing.
So let's look at your rewards. Obviously, you've got the digital, which if anybody's if you're not looking to get it mailed to you, whatever, but you want to read it, you get digital, throw it right on your tablet or whatever, and you can read it anywhere you go. So that's great. Print edition is $10, and again, it's 32 pages, a full story, guys. This is larger than a regular comic. I mean, if you think about it, a regular
Hmm.
comic is $5 now, and it's probably 17 pages of story with like 4 pages of ads.
Oh my God,
So,
yeah, the ads
yeah, so this is
drives me
almost double.
crazy.
Yeah, this is almost double size issue if you think about it from Marvel to DC. So consider that.
Yeah, we wanted to go on big on the first issue because I wanted to give you attachment to these characters. I don't want to just rush into the fantasy without giving you something to care about. So these
Right.
are going to be characters you want to see their story fleshed out. So it's a nice bonus size issue for issue one.
And you've got the Stan Yok variant, which is really cool. A never ending story homage. Awesome.
I'm not upcharging for the variant like some people do too. It's just if you want the variant one, you can get that one for $10 too. So
Very cool. And you got a bundle deal for some of the other books that you've worked on, that you've done.
yeah, just $10 gets you the digital of basically everything, all the books that I have available right now, outside of the kids stuff that's the Super Cats books. But yeah, you can
Wow,
get
350
Ultralife.
pages just for $10.
Yeah, Ultralife's like 180 page graphic novel. Nook's like 100. Flytrap's a 60-page one shot. So you're getting a lot
Wow,
for $10.
very cool. And then, of course, $20 to get both covers.
Yeah, and I have beyond that, I have bundles that these are the cheapest I've ever sold these books for. So that Nook is a hardcover trade of the full story of this World War II ghost story that I wrote with Marcelo as the artist. Flytrap, Marcelo did the art. So that's like the Thusat Biat three
Nice.
pack for $30. So pretty nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely affordable, guys. I'm serious. How much money do we waste on stuff that it's wasted? You know what I mean? That
And I just
something
do
you drank
I
or
just do
ate.
a flat 5 for shipping for all these, even the big bundles. So you're not getting like overcharged for shipping or anything
You're
weird.
actually losing money on shipping because for me, between $1 per Gemini, it's anywhere from 4.90 to $9 and change, depending on where you're going in the
Yeah.
country. You lose money.
Yeah, I'm giving you guys the deal right now with these books. I have extras from my print runs, and I want these books in people's hands. So $45 gets you all the books I have right now outside of the Super Cat stuff. You can add the Super Cats books in the add-ons too. I just didn't put them in the bundles themselves.
Wow, that's a steal. We're robbing you.
A little bit, yeah. I'm
Pirate
being very
sketch.
generous this time around. You got Marcelo's doing pirate sketches. You'll send a headshot or whatever, and he'll do a pirate sketch of you. And you get the physical sketch. It's not the digital, and we'll send it with the books.
Very cool. And then you got a bigger bundle with the pirate sketch.
Yeah, it's with all the books. And then, the highest tier gets you basically everything that I've done so
Super
far.
Cats,
A producer
audiobooks,
credit.
and the art. Is there a limit on this 255 tier?
I think there's 5 total, and I went 3 of them are gone. So I think there's
Very
2 left.
cool. And then you've got add-ons. Digital bundle for $5, Fly Trap for 15.
Yeah, so obviously if you buy the bundles in the rewards, you're actually getting the books for cheaper. But if you can still get piecemeal if you just want Nook on top of Neverland, or if you
Right.
just want.
But still, $15 hardcover, 60
Yeah.
pages or whatever, 100 pages. That's still a
Yeah.
steal.
Yeah, it's a 100-page hardcover Nook is. So, and the exciting thing, let me tell you, is that Nook is now coming out on SourcePoint Press this summer. So this is like a you're basically getting a preview of what's coming from them,
That's
which is pretty
fantastic.
exciting.
Hang on. So do you have the book right there to show everybody?
Yeah. So this is the hardcover. It's got like the UV gloss. It's really nice. You see
Congratulations, man.
I went above and beyond with the hardcover, but of course the SourcePoint's doing these really amazing covers. They have an artist named Martha Webby who's doing the single issue covers, and they're going to be fantastic. I think in April you can start pre-ordering issue 1 and previews, and it'll be like a big featured, like SourcePoint's featured book for that previews magazine. And then they'll also have another exciting thing I just learned, I think it was yesterday, or they are putting the covers on fan expo badges for Dallas, Denver, and Chicago.
That's awesome. I
So
saw
yeah.
yeah, congratulations.
So it's pretty
That is
exciting.
great.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm telling people, to tell their comic shops too, if they're going to be getting Neverland or getting Nook, they can get there's a retailer pack. You didn't see it in the rewards there because I added it later, but there's a retailer reward tier that they can get some extra copies of Neverland for very cheap, so that when Nook comes out, they can have Neverland right alongside it. Same artist, same writer. So hope they should be coming out relatively close to the same time. So that would be pretty cool and then hopefully, when we get issue 2 on Kickstarter, we can kind of have the excitement from Nook feed into that too. So let's see what happens.
Fantastic. That's great
Thanks.
news, man. I'm happy to hear that for you. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I
Yeah,
hope you get some large
it's pretty
distribution
exciting.
out there. Yeah.
I just want more people to read it because that was a book I finished like almost 2 years ago now. But to have it finished and to have someone find it and say that this is worth like they really believe in this book and they wanted to get it out in people's hands. There's a good message in there, and it's also just a really interesting, really beautiful book. Marcelo did. You saw the page that I showed you, like his black
Yeah.
and white stop. It's just a
Now, would
great
you consider it like
read.
a horror genre?
I consider it. It's kind of horror. It's really a
Supernatural?
historical horror, I guess. Supernatural. I would put it under supernatural mainly because the horror is the war, and the ghosts are almost like the salvation of the book. So I wrote it kind of with that Guillermo del Toro thought, where it's like the ghosts are there, but really the horror that's going on in the story is the people. It has to do with the people. Usually the ghosts are just caught up in the mess that the people are creating. So that's kind of what I wrote it like, with Pan's Labyrinth in my head, like Crimson Peak. It just has that feel to
Absolutely.
it.
That's really cool. I'm very happy for you, man. That's great to see hard work paying off. We
Thanks.
had
Yeah.
uh we had one backer,
Oh yeah. I
so
missed
thank you
it.
to whoever that was.
I wasn't looking at my phone nonstop like I have been.
It's funny because when I run a Kickstarter, nonstop, 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 and then I'm like, all right, you know what? I just can't do this anymore, and I'll go away from it for. Then
And
all of
then
a
you get
sudden,
like
I just
50
don't look at it
backers.
enough.
Yeah. I'm feeling
Yes.
that this week for sure. I'm just like, I've been doing shows and I've been doing conventions every weekend, and I'm like, I'm I'm getting really kind of over it. I'm glad I did the 3 weeks because I still have another podcast going on this week. I'm doing a comic appearance or comic shop appearance in Akron, and then I'm doing
Nice.
another convention in Cleveland on Sunday. So it's like I'm definitely blanketing the world with Neverland right now.
Good, and that's what you got to do. I mean, that's it. The grind. You have to grind. So you mentioned appearances. Tell us first of all. Tell us where we can. What's the next podcast we're going to see you on, and when?
There's a pre-recorded ones. Uh, Wayne's, what is it called? Wayne's. It's on majorspoilers.com. It'll come out on Sunday. But Wayne is a guy that got to know me through Alter Life way back in the day, and now he follows everything that I do. So it makes me feel like I'm doing something right if he's still reading my stuff. But he's great. I'll be posting stuff about it, I'm sure. But if you just watch majorspoilers.com, we'll have one pop out there on Sunday. And
Cool. And what's the show on the weekend in Cleveland? The
it's
convention.
called the Cleveland Comic and Nostalgia Fest or whatever. It's up in the west side of Cleveland. If you just look up Nostalgia Cleveland on Facebook, it'll pop up. Jeff Harper puts these shows on. It's a small show. It's like they do a hotel ballroom. It's mostly guys looking for old comics, but they feature some creators out in the hall, and usually there's only like 5 or 6 of us. But it's always fun. You get to chat and talk to people one on one. There's no pressure, so it's just a good time. So I'll be there giving some stuff away. He does hourly giveaways during that, and so I'll be giving some stuff away for that. It's just a nice zero pressure show. You're not in it for a bunch of money. You're not worrying about trying to make anything. You're just having a good
Right.
time.
Cool. And anything else in the future? And remind everybody pre-orders for Source Point Press for
Yeah,
that.
so I'll be at the Rubber City Comics on Saturday in Akron. I'll be hanging out, selling books, and talking about Neverland there. And then Previews World, I don't know I don't have the numbers and stuff yet. I'm sure I'll get those later this month. But in next month's Previews World, there'll be Nook issue 1 will be in that guy. And then it's going to be a monthly, so you can get issue 1, 2, 3 every month. I think it's June, July, August. So fun
Awesome.
stuff.
Fantastic.
And if you want something for your kids, Super Cats is on Scout Comics now. So I have 2 books out through Scout. I have 3 books altogether. They'll be releasing at least another one through them this year. The Halloween. They'll probably be out for Halloween. So
That is awesome.
yeah, it's
Actually,
been a
if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to pick your brain at some point about Scout and Source Point and some things like that.
oh for sure. Yeah, I'm
You know,
already
I
learning a lot working with 2 different companies at the same time. I'll tell you
yeah,
that.
because like you look at Image Comics, but they're only accepting people that are already established writers. You don't see them picking up new people. You know, they're not
Hmm.
taking a shot on. You know, they call themselves a creator-owned company, and they are, but they want you to have already a fan base built in before you come in. Whereas I think
Yeah,
SourcePoint Press and Avatar Press and all those guys, they want to help build up a book along with themselves. So
they're just looking for quality content is what they're looking
right,
for. You know,
right,
but
I
yeah,
agree.
that's like a whole other show, dude.
Yeah,
Source,
not now.
source point. Yeah.
That's true. Look, Caleb, it was great having you on. Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah.
Everybody, right now, neverlandcomic.com. That'll send you over to the website, to the Kickstarter. Just one last time, let's show what's going on here. Okay, so he's at 158 backers with 7 days to go, $4,512. Listen, $12 over goal. That sounds fantastic, but God forbid somebody back out or something, he goes right back under. So let's give him some cushion, guys. It's worth it. He's obviously an established writer and creator. It's a quality story, a quality book. It looks very fascinating. It's all ages. If you want to bond with your kids, you can sit and if you want to get your kids into comic books, this and Super Cats and all the things that he writes are good ways to introduce your children to comic books and spend time and share with them. And of course, you're supporting a creator. Now, remind you, when you pledge on a campaign like this, you're not just supporting Caleb, the creator, you're supporting Marcelo, the artist, you're
Mhm.
supporting the colorist, you're supporting everybody that's involved in the project, which is so key because for the independent community to exist and compete with the mainstream on any level, we need the circulation of money in this industry. That's just fact.
Absolutely.
What's that?
I said, absolutely. You are absolutely correct. This
So,
this
I mean,
money is mostly going to artists at this point. If you think about this, like this
yeah,
is
you're
what
not
it's
paying
for.
Diamond, you're not paying Marvel and DC big publishers. You're paying the creator whose blood, sweat, and tears went into printing, making a book, not because they want to sell tons, movies and stuff, but because they want to just put out good content.
Hmm.
We're the innovators at this point. I mean, because Marvel and DC have gotten very stale. I mean, you're still buying because you love the characters,
Yeah,
hoping that they're being written better and everything. And in most cases, they're not. So try something new, try something fresh, try something that's born out of passion, not business.
love it.
That's it. So, Caleb, I wish you much success. Congratulations on your current success. I look forward to
Thank you.
seeing everything with Source Point um, and Jesus, I'm losing
Scout.
my mind. Scout, thank you.
Yeah.
And congrats on funding on this. And guys, follow him. He'll be at the shows this week. Check out previews for upcoming Nook, and or you could just get Nook now if you pledge Neverland.
You could. Yeah. Do it.
Cool, do it, Caleb. Man, thank you so much. Have a great evening and continued success, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
Take care. So that's Caleb Thusat. Yes, I got it. Um, the Neverland #1. It's a mini series. If you love Neverending Story and those childhood stories of fantasies that we grew up on that were a little more mature, but not too mature that you can't enjoy with your kids, this is a book for you. Caleb is experienced. He's got professional level skills, so you're going to get a quality book. Okay. And again, this is a book you can share with your kids and enjoy. If not, he's got other books that are more mature. He's got a World War II supernatural story, Nook, which you might want to back Neverland just to get that alone, because it might blow up pretty quickly, pretty soon, and you want to be on the ground floor. I mean, nobody realizes they were holding Todd McFarlane's, that book from Todd McFarlane in their hand until he became Todd McFarlane. Then you kick yourself. Well, don't kick yourself. Go pick up Caleb's book. It doesn't cost much at all. The guy is not charging a lot for these books. So go check it out. All right. To remind you, I have another show this Thursday. Dwayne Robinson Jr. will be on promoting his current campaign. And then Saturday, we have the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It is a pre-recorded show because he's only giving me about 10 or 15 minutes because that's what he does on his circuits. Kevin Eastman. It's my third time interviewing him. It's always a pleasure. And believe it or not, in 10 or 15 minutes, you usually get a lot out of Kevin. He's a big kid like the rest of us. He hasn't forgotten where he's coming from despite his fame and everything. So that'll be a great way to wrap up this week of Creatorcon shows. But I just want to remind you, Kevin Eastman at one point was where I am, where Caleb is, where Dwayne is. Just remember that. He's a legend now. But he was scraping and clawing and sweating and bleeding to get the turtles out there to anybody that'll pay attention. You never know. It might be, holy cow, you're interviewing Caleb. Go buy the book. All right. Tragedy 3 is almost done being penciled. Then we're going to go to inks because Ricardo is doing the inking. I have a legendary inker that's going to come on board the book once I can afford it. And we are going to look at it May 1st or 2nd. I have to look at the day of the week launch for Tragedy number 3. Please keep an eye out for that. I do want to remind you, I am on demand right now on Indiegogo for chapters 1 and 2. And I also have the remastered edition because we were pushing to publishers that you can purchase as well if you're interested in seeing how we've improved book 1. If not, we still have just the old book 1 and book 2. Whatever tickles your fancy. We just want you to read the book. I just want you to enjoy the book, hopefully. Someone said the best way they could describe tragedy genre-wise is Big Trouble in Little China. And I actually think they're right. It has street fighting and gangs and mafia and supernatural and monsters and magic, but it all works and it's all a blast. I never even thought of that until somebody said that. But anyway, so go check it out. Again, thank you to our guest, Caleb. Much success to him. Thanks for coming out and watching. Come back Thursday. Give support to Dwayne. We really need to support each other in this community. We are not each other's enemy. We are not each other's competition. We are each other's brother in this and sister in this. We got to work together, build each other up, and we can all grow together. Okay? Your only competition is being a better person tomorrow than you are today, so let's get at it. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll leave you with what I always leave you with. Be legendary, and have fun storming the castle.